Nanook Metal! Tuk tut!
Hello friends, my name is Nanook Metal and I hope that you're having a good day. Today I want to show you a high-level crime spree build. It's intended for levels 10,000 and above, and it will allow you to ECM rush at least a portion of a heist, but also will make you effective at loud combat. Couple of assumptions that I'm going to make. First, that you are fairly experienced in Payday 2, are of high infamy, and have access to certain DLCs. Let's have a look at the gauge boosts first. The most important one will be the more to deploy. What the more to deploy does, of course, it will give you an extra deployable. So for example, if you normally can bring 2 ECMs, you'll be able to bring 3 ECMs. The other things to get would be the blast resistance, completely removes any damage from the explosives, so you won't be able to blow yourself up or your teammates anymore. And the one more down. The one more down, of course, it's pretty straightforward. Gives you another down before you go into custody. Together with the swan song, excuse me, not the swan song, but the 9 lives aced, you will be able to go down 5 times before you have to use up a doctor bag. The last couple of skills that you can get, or the boosts, is the swift swapper, rapid reloader, or the stamina boost. It really comes down to which particular heist you're going to do. Certain boosts will become redundant later on. Speed talker, for example, is just not gonna work because the crime spree modifiers will prevent you from responding to any pagers. If you try to respond to a pager, the alarm will go off immediately. Let's have a look at the skills, and the most important ones are the Inspire and the Combat Doctor. Doctor Bag charges and Doctor Bags, as well as have an ability to inspire your teammates or revive your teammates instantly. And I would recommend for at least 3 players in your team to have Inspire. That way you will be able to support each other without exposing yourself too much. Get the Quick Fix and the Combat Medic in order to unlock the other 2. If you don't like Quick Fix, play around with these skills, it doesn't really matter. As long as you can unlock the higher tiers, it's completely up to you. In the controller, I usually get the Stockholm Syndrome, but I'm playing around with this build at the moment, so I decided not to get the Stockholm Syndrome because it acts more of as an insurance policy. If you go into custody, you will be able to bring yourself out, and of course you cannot restart in the crime spree, and therefore having as much sustainability, but also having a mechanism to deal with something if something goes wrong, will be a very nice addition. So you could try and go for the Stockholm Syndrome. At the moment I actually dropped it to go for the high value target because the enemies just become so difficult to kill, and I'm trying to collect as many boosts as I can. So the high value target is a quite useful skill, increases the incoming damage, increases the damage that you can deal onto the special enemies by 65%, depending on how far away they are from you. Make sure that not every player in the team gets high value target, because then they don't stack up. One person is enough, and this is why if someone already has it, for example, you might want to go for Stockholm Syndrome or something else even. The Transporter, although it's a very useful skill normally, because in crime spree you're only going for the bare minimum. For example, in the Go Bank heist, you only need to secure 1 bag before you can escape. Getting the Transporter doesn't make much sense. What I got instead is the Portable Saw, and the Portable Saw skill will allow me to bring a saw as a secondary, and so that I can still bring a nice primary weapon and be effective at killing enemies, somewhat at least. Over at the Technician tree, another very important skill, it's the Jack of all trades, allows you to bring 2 deployables, and remember that gauge boost, the more deployable boost, it will also affect your secondaries. Just like with the Portable Saw skill, getting the drill skills can be also very useful for when the part of the objective is to drill through something. In the normal bank heist, for example, you always have to drill through the vault door. So having drill skills, at least for one person, not everyone has to get the drill skills. Don't get anything in the oppressor. So let's have a look at the Ghost. The ECM Specialist and the ECM Overdrive, of course, are the once again the very important skills. They will affect your ECMs, make them last longer, also makes the ECM feedback last longer. And of course, when you're placing the ECMs around the map, if you expect the map to go loud eventually, for example like in the Big Oil Day 2, make sure to place your ECMs in strategic places so that you can then activate them as you go, and that will help you with taking care of or controlling the enemy swarms. I got the Nimble, Sixth Sense and the Chameleon just in order to unlock the ECM skills, but I don't think they're very useful in ECM Rush or in Loud. Down in the Artful Dodger, we've got the Duck and Cover Aced, and this is a dodge build, so having the extra 10% chance to dodge when you're sprinting is quite nice. It will bump the total number up to 60%. I also usually get the parkour skill aced, but again I'm trying to play around with the skills a little bit, so I didn't get it this time. Allows you to sprint in any direction as well as increasing your movement speed. And this is where a lot of my new points went. It's in the silent killer tree. The specialized killing is nothing new, increases the damage of your silenced weapons. I'll show you which particular weapons I use in the moment and how good of that bonus is. I got the professional and aced just to unlock the unseen strike, and basically what the unseen strike does is if you don't lose any armor or health for 4 seconds, you get a 35% chance to deal a critical strike on an enemy that you shoot, and that buff only lasts for 6 seconds. And it's not a 100% chance, it's a 35% chance. And as far as I'm aware, what the critical strike means is that a headshot multiplier will be applied to your hit, even though it could be like a body hit. In the future, I might change the build somewhat again, so if you see, check the description or check a pinned comment or just check the build that I will link in the description. If it looks different to what you see in the video, that probably means that I either realized that, you know, that a particular skill wasn't as useful. I thought maybe another skill is more useful. The last sub-tree that I want to talk about is the Revenant, and it's over in the Fugitive class. The Swan Song is a very useful skill, especially for the particular weapons that I'm using today, because they don't have too much of an ammo pool. And so being able to shoot and without depleting your ammo, even though for short periods of time, just 9 seconds, is a great ability. Combine the Swan Song with Inspire, and you and your teammates will be able to continuously move on throughout the map, complete objectives, and you will be able to clear the enemy waves. Briefly mentioned the 9 lives when I was talking about the boosts, and of course what it does is that it gives you another down. Pretty straightforward, doesn't cost much, and certainly will improve the survivability of your team. That's it for the skills. If you still have any questions, remember to pop them down in the comment section below. Let's have a look at the weapons. So the weapon that I use as a primary most of the time is the Thanatos sniper rifle. The reason being is that if you have a look at the damage stat, with the specialized killing you get 987, or effectively 907 if you take away the 80 silencer penalty, and that's some of the greatest bonuses, damage bonuses that you can get in the game. It actually is pretty crazy. Combine it with some other skills that potentially can increase this damage even further. Although the Thanatos sniper rifle only has up to 16 bullets of total ammo, just being able to deal so much damage will make it worth your while. Let's have a look at the mods. The important thing that you need to get, of course, is the suppressor, and this suppressor is not available to you until you complete a certain objective, until you complete a certain achievement. It's actually not that difficult, but it might take some time. In fact, if you want to learn how to unlock mods in Payday 2, how to gain access to mods in Payday 2, then check the top right corner or the description down below for a video that I've made a couple of weeks ago. The next thing is the boosts. Because I've got some of those skills that increase the accuracy and the stability of your weapons, the accuracy stat is already at 100, meaning that wherever the red dot is pointing, that's where the bullet will land, which is quite nice. So I'm not going for the accuracy boost. What I got instead was the total ammo boost, and it only adds 1 more bullet, but when your total ammo pool is 15 bullets, it actually is a somewhat of a significant amount. Go with any gadget, any grip that you want, as long as it does have some kind of positive effect on your accuracy and stability. I do have to warn you that stability is probably not a very important stat for the Thanatos sniper rifle because of its fairly low rate of fire. The recoil is not going to be such a huge problem. The sight is probably, once again, go for whatever you want. Considering that you get the high value target aced, you will already be able to highlight any enemies, any special enemies, by looking at them through the sight. Therefore, getting the reconnaissance sight or the box body sight or the Thea magnified scope is probably not going to be as important. However, if you're not going to go get that skill, these sights will still provide that ability to highlight special enemies. The other thing that you can also bring with you is the saw. But with the portable saw skill, we'll be able to bring the saw as a secondary so that we can still have the Thanatos, we can still help the team out with killing. And the boost that I get for the saw, I'm not even sure if 15 points of total ammo does anything, whether it even accounts for one click, but if it does, then it's still kind of worth it. I also get the fast motor and the durable blade. At least at the moment, these seem to be the best mods that you can put on a saw. Your alternative, if you're not planning to bring a saw with you, is to get some kind of grenade launcher. You can go for the RPG, you can go for the Commando 101, you can go for the Chinese Puff Daddy, for the China Puff grenade launcher. And make sure that you don't put an incendiary round on it, because they don't seem to do that much with the presence of all the attack or crime spree modifiers. Enemies cannot be staggered by the fire, they can't even get staggered by the explosion, so what you're basically relying on is trying to just kill the enemies by dealing the damage to them. The Commando 101 is pretty cool because you can swan song with it easily, although the RPG does have twice as much damage, but at the same time less ammo, so it's completely up to you, and also probably depends on which particular DLCs you have available to you. Let's have a look at this build in action. The first heist is the bank heist, and you will be able to ECM rush. If not all of it, then definitely most of it. Depends on how many players you have. Me and Eth, it was just 2 of us and 6 ECMs between us, which makes it like 3 minutes worth of ECM time in total. The biggest thing about the ECM rush is that make sure that you have your lobby organized. You need to have an order of who is going to drop the ECMs next. Keep in mind that with the more to deploy, it's not the 2 ECMs, it's the 3 ECMs that you have to wait for, so just keep track of when it's your turn. What usually happens when I host a lobby, I just keep track of the order for everyone else and just let them know in chat. Even though it might be a little bit redundant, I'd rather say it and no one need it than I don't say it and it turns out, someone missed their turn and the alarm went off, things like that. You can also use things like custom HUDs that have the ECM timers that will make your ECM rush more effective, but what I usually do is I just wait for the ECMs to start blinking, and it starts blinking roughly about 5 seconds before it expires, so I count till 2 or 3 in my head and drop the ECM then. Very important thing is that make sure that you don't get downed before you have to place an ECM, so if you're in a situation where you know that you might have to drop another one and there are guards around, either hide and place it, because if you get downed, of course, you cannot deploy any equipment. The ECM rush has now finished, but we still have to drill through the wall door and the heist will go loud. Luckily enough that we actually didn't have to go for a lot of the loot, just needed to grab the one bag, so once the vault is open, basically, you can escape. I also got to mention the items that you can, or the assets that you can get from the pre-planning. The delay that is available to you, the alarm delay, only, I think in the bank heist it's about 20 seconds, so basically means once the alarm goes off, the cops will take 20 seconds extra to arrive. But again, that will buy you that time and create the space for you in order to complete the heist. Here are the bags. We only needed to get the one, as I said, but I for some reason, weird reason, ended up grabbing a bag as well. I also ended up dropping it shortly after because I got down and of course I was in Swan Song, so I had to drop off the bag because it would slow me down even further. But it's not a huge problem with the Inspire. We're able to get right back up and complete this heist with relative ease. I would say that the bank heist is, if you rank it 1 to 10 in terms of the crime spree difficulty, I would say it's roughly about, it's a 4, maybe even a 3. It's not that difficult. If you're doing it by yourself, it might be a little bit tougher, but at the same time, make sure you bring the bots, give them the boosts, maybe even get the boost that heals you up a little bit, and that will make your life much, much easier. Here is the day 2 of the Firestarter heist. which is the FBI headquarters, and it's once again not a very difficult heist. You can actually pull it off by yourself with the 3 ECMs. You will have almost enough time. What you need to do is make sure that you find the server room as fast as you can, and it only spawns in like 4 predetermined locations, 4 or 5, I think it's one. There's one downstairs, 3, 1, 2. If I recall correctly, there are only 4 different spots where the server room can spawn. So learn the map, run to those places straight away. Then you need to hack a computer, which I already did, and after that you need to cut through the 2 boxes and cut the cables into alarm boxes, and then you will be able to open the server door. A little bit of cool teamwork there. Both of us brought saws so that I was able to saw through the first door, and then Eth sawed through the second door. Therefore we saved a little bit of time and managed to complete the heist a little bit quicker. But you can also see that by the end of the heist, we still had 2 ECMs remaining, so it wasn't too much of a difficult heist, and you only get 5 crime spree levels from it, points. But considering you can finish it in like 2 or 3 minutes, it's actually quite effective. Here's the Shadow Raid heist. It didn't go as smooth as ECM rushes go, although Shadow Raid is probably the most famous ECM rush heist, at least back in the day. That's what all the cool kids used to grind. I actually haven't done an ECM rush of Shadow Raid in probably years. This must have been the first time, and so I was kind of panicking a little bit at some points because I found the crowbars you saw me earlier. Tried to go for the containers. I also got downed, and while you're in stealth, while you're in the ECM rush, Inspire doesn't work, so I had to wait to be revived manually, and of course that means we're wasting the precious time that is needed to secure the loot. On Shadow Raid heist and Crime Spree, as well as any other heist, uses the overkill version of the map, and that means that in Shadow Raid you only need to secure 9 bags, but as you can see I'm getting very little luck with the crates. There was 1 empty. This one is pretty good, it's cocaine. The best case scenario is to get the lightest loot possible in the Shadow Raid, and this is why I ditched the artifact. It's just gonna take too much time. It will take me maybe like 20 seconds to get the artifact to the escape zone or to that dumpster. Dumpster is definitely one of the most useful items that you can get if you're planning to ECM rush this heist. Make sure that you get it in the yard rather than anywhere else, because it's fairly close to all the loot drop-off or loot locations. Make sure that if you're in a group that you share the responsibility of who is doing what. One person can go to the yard, another person can go to the offices, and someone else can go to the warehouses. Once again, I'm keeping an eye out for the ECM to start blinking, and once it does, I started. Oh, I've deployed the next one. Got down here again, and at this point I was less, I didn't panic as much, but I was just really annoyed because that's another 15 to 20 seconds that I've wasted. That's another bag that I wasted, that I could have secured during this period. You, of course, also get another minute of time where you can complete the heist in Shadow Raid after the alarm goes off. Therefore, even though and that's what you will see what happened, but even though the alarm goes off, you still have a chance to pull the heist off. This was the bag number 7, and luckily enough, this container here contained the money bag, and Ed also found the loot bag, so we were able to complete the heist. I think that's enough of stealth action. Let's do something loud. Here's the Slaughterhouse, probably one of the tougher heists to complete. First of all, you cannot ECM rush it, because once the truck gets rammed by that, what is it called? Excavator? I think that's what it's called. The heist will go in loud. Luckily, we had more people join, so that it was a little bit easier to roll, but as you will see, it was nevertheless very, very challenging heist. Again, things like Inspire, things like Dr. Bex, things like Swan Song made it much more manageable. A couple of cool tricks with the Slaughterhouse Heist is that when the truck is first driving before it gets rammed, make sure to shoot at the drivers of the truck. This will ensure that it lands or that it falls out and lands upside down. Although that means that a dozer will spawn out of the truck. However, it is actually a little bit closer. The safe itself will be a little bit closer to the safe zone, or to where you need to carry the bags later on. And this is how you will save yourself a little bit of time. We only had to go for the 6 bags, so we didn't go for all of the gold. But at the same time, getting that safe as close as possible, well, it makes it easier. Also, you can hide behind the truck or around it. So there's another reason as to why I like to shoot the truck in the beginning of the heist. I still did bring ECMs to this heist because I wanted to use the ECM feedback. So although the ECM itself is useless, but the ECM feedback is still quite nice to have. You can also hack turrets with the ECM if you deploy an ECM and there is a turret present on the map, which it's possible for a turret to spawn in a slaughterhouse. That will, as long as the ECM is active, the turret will actually be shooting at the police rather than yourself. It's quite a cool trick, but it doesn't really have I don't really get to use it as often because I rarely bring ECMs to loud heists unless it's a crime spree. What you can see on the screen is that we keep getting downed quite a lot and keep going into the swan song at the same time. We are able to revive each other. Also, something that I've mentioned earlier during the build, but certainly as important as doctor bags are, oftentimes or sometimes if you're going for a very long heist, I would recommend to get maybe at least one person to bring a couple of ammo bags, and as long as you have that one more down boost, and as long as you have the 9 lives, as long as at least 2 other people have, or more to deploy as well, you will have plenty of doctor bags to go around. Here's a moment where almost everyone went into, well, got downed, but at the same time, once someone inspires another person, the chain reaction sort of starts, and one by one we're able to get up. I want to talk about the enemies a little bit in terms of what to watch out for. Snipers are definitely a huge problem because they will kill you, and with the crime spree modifiers it's possible for more snipers to start spawning, especially on in Slaughterhouse. Anyway, there will be like 4 snipers that will spawn outside in the container area even if you're not on the crime spree. I actually can't remember if there is a modifier. I certainly know that there is a modifier that will introduce more medics and dozers, but maybe there are no sniper modifiers. Can't remember right now if I make it. I've got to check that. Maybe there isn't one. Regardless, the snipers are still dangerous. Shields are, as you can see, they are Captain Winter shields, so they are also a little bit beefier. They're a little bit harder to deal with. I've kept busting enemies in general and the shields with the explosive with the Thanatos sniper rifle, and it takes more than 5 shots sometimes to the head in order to take them out. Dozers themselves, like these guys here, they're quite tanky, but they're not any more dangerous than they usually are. However, there are special dozers that are introduced in the crime spree. One of them is the medic dozer, which is basically a medic combined with a bulldozer. So not only he's going to be a pain in the ass, in fact you can see one in front of me right now, but he also will keep people around him alive. There also exists another bulldozer, special bulldozer, who wields a minigun. However, he does not spawn as often, and if you see one, then make sure that you first of all let your team know that he's there, and you guys should try take that dozer out as soon as possible. I'm gonna fast forward to the container part of the slaughterhouse, because apart from those, from us getting downed a few times, there's nothing really extremely interesting that was going on while we were moving the bags. So we're now in the container area waiting for the traps, for the trap, for the container of the gold to be moved to the escape area. And here is another sort of problem that I've encountered. It was the amount of medics that was present on the map. Of course, medics by themselves are not extremely dangerous enemies, but because they can keep other people alive, it makes it very difficult to deal with. There's also a modifier that when a medic dies, anything or any enemies around the medic will get healed completely. What you can see in the bottom left and in the chat right now, and what you can see on the screen, is that I had a lag spike, and a few players, the 3 other players, actually got down, but at the time I could not see that they were getting down because of the lag spike. This is a very dangerous situation, because what happens is, even though you might get a Bane's notification that the teammate got down, you won't be able to get them up. And so in that situation, try and let your teammates know that there is a lag spike, as I did. So hopefully they will adjust, like, you know, not expect you to get them up. They'll try either to get themselves up, or maybe someone else will come and help them out. But certainly once the lag spike clears up, then try and assess the situation, see if anyone still needs help. The opposite can also sometimes happen still, even though that's with the desync better. The desync is not there, but the problem is that the lag spike, you might yourself get downed, but the teammates won't see that happening, and so you might end up going into custody before you're able to, well, get out. And of course, in the crime spree, that is further worsened by the fact that there are modifiers that extend the assault phase, and I think by the end of by the time that the container got delivered and we were ready to escape, the assault actually ended. So meaning that, you know, during that lag spike, if the heist, if someone went into custody, we would have to play without them for a solid 5 minutes, which would have been a little bit tricky at that point. I think I've mentioned everything that I really wanted to mention. One last thing that I'll say is that I hope this footage helped you realize that the playstyle, the strategy that you should adhere to, will be a little bit different from one down even, because the enemies are so tanky, so don't expect to be able to kill enemies as you normally would, even on one down difficulty, because there, as long as I have the Commander 101 grenade launcher or any other grenade launcher in Swan Song, pretty much all enemies can still die. Here, as you saw multiple times, I kept shooting the sniper, the enemies with the sniper rifles. Doesn't matter if it was a headshot or not, it still was extremely difficult. There we go, that's the assault ending, and it just takes a while, seriously, so be very careful as to not going into custody. Stick to your team, make sure that you don't run away so that someone has to rescue you and expose themselves. Work together with your team, keep in touch. You know, chat is a very useful thing, although right now it's probably not the best example of us using the chat for teamwork. And that's about it. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you do have any questions, make sure to ask them in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, then make sure to share it with your friends, because good people need to watch good videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye bye.